Hey guys, it's Drew from the Diving Locker. Today we're going to go through how to properly set up a spool and an SMB, and we'll talk about spool sizes, what they're used for, and a couple of different SMBs, so you have kind of a choice in what to use. So you've got a couple of different options when you're looking to get an SMB and a spool. You can get them separate and put it all together. You have to do a little bit more work, but it's a little bit more custom to your needs. Or you can get one that's pre-set up and ready to go, like this one, where it's got a pouch on the front and the spool is built into it, so it's a little bit easier to fire, but it's not quite as, we're gonna say, flexible a system, so you're kind of just stuck with it as is. When you're looking to get an SMB, and right now, today we're talking about DSMBs that you send up from your dive, usually during your safety stop, not a surface marker buoy, which is only used at the surface. You can get various different sizes from 3 feet, 6 feet, 9 feet. You can get really big ones. It's good to know which kind you're going to be using and for what purpose. Usually the bigger you go, the more technical, the bigger the dives you're going to be doing, but everyone's different. You're probably not going to be using a massive SMB or a lift bag for a standard recreational open water dive during your 5-meter safety stop. You're going to start to use bigger ones as you do bigger, longer, more technical dives. So the first thing we're going to do when setting up a spool is we're going to take a bunch of line off. I've already done that with this one. So normally when you get a little finger spool like this, it comes completely full of line, and that's not very useful because you can't actually get your double ender in there. So you're going to take a ton of line off, usually about a third or a half of it, so that you can actually use the little holes to catch the double ender in there. And then you're just going to burn the end with a lighter just to make sure that it's not going to start fraying on you. And then we're going to start tying some knots. First thing we're going to do is we're going to tie a big loop because you want to be able to pass the spool through it. So I'm going to do something about that size so it's easy to grab, easy to handle. And we're going to tie just a really standard little knot on the end here. There you go. So you want to tie just a little knot there, make sure it's nice and tight so it's not going anywhere. Then we're going to do a couple of things to make this more usable. First thing we're going to do, and you'll see why in a minute, is I like to go either half or about a third way down and make another loop. So what we're going to do is just grab part of that, that's about a third to a half, and make a little knot so that it forms a loop that's easy to grab onto. Like that. And then we're going to make another knot and a loop at the very end of the line. There we go. And there's a reason we're doing those. So when you're storing your spool, one of the major mistakes people make is putting it through like that, and then clipping off the line and then attaching it to your BCD. Especially if it's got an SMB on it, it's gonna swing around. The problem with this is as soon as it starts to twist, it's gonna come apart and you're gonna lose the spool. Happens all the time. So the reason you make those two knots is so when you wind it up, you pass the little knot through one of the loops or through the hole. There we go, and it catches. Then you're going to use the double ender, go through once, go around, you can go around one more time, and then pass it through the gate, and it's not going anywhere. Then you store that on your BCD on a D-ring, and nothing's going to take that off. It even helps catch the gate so that it doesn't open up by accident. And now, because we dive in dry suits with dry gloves or thick neoprene gloves, you've got the little loop on top here, so when I want to actually use it, my hands are starting to get cold at the end of a dive. I can just grab this and pull it out, and it's really easy to use. Okay, now that we've set up our little spool, we're gonna go and connect it to the SMB. You can do this underwater or you can have it pre-set up. I like mine because I know exactly what I'm gonna be using it for. I like to have it set up right away, so as soon as I wanna use it, I can send it up and there's no hassles. I'm not worried about dropping anything. So I'm gonna take the double ender off of my spool and I want some line out. And this is why we left the big loop, because on my SMB side, I've got my swivel bolt snap where it's going to be attached to my D-ring. I've got this little connector just so that I don't have to use a zip tie or anything on here. You could still connect it with cave line or something, but I had this lying around and it works perfectly for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass part of my line all the way through the swivel, and then I'm going to put the spool through the loop. And then it's tied on there. That's not going anywhere. And like I said, this is going to be the attachment point to my BCD. Then I can feel free to just wind this all the way up. Use the double ender to catch it. And now I know that's never coming off. And because the double ender isn't the point of attachment to my BCD, it's not moving around, it just stays in place. And then this is going to be clipped off, and that's how it stays together. So I can keep that in my pocket, I can keep that on my back or on my shoulder somewhere, ideally out of the way, and it's ready for use. So when you're choosing your SMB, aside from SMB size and what you're going to be using it for, you also need to choose the spool size and how much line you need. So obviously there's a difference between these two. This is used for my standard recreational dives with 5-meter safety stops or 15 feet. So you just send that up at the end of the dive when you're nice and shallow. This one I use when I'm doing technical diving and doing a lot deeper dives, when I'm going to be making ascents from potentially a lot deeper. So it's got at least 30 meters of line on it. I can also use that if I'm going to do any, smaller wreck penetrations or anything like that where I need some line to tie off. And then this one is going to be very similar to this. It's one of those pre-assembled SMBs where if you need to shoot it out, you take it, and because it's already attached on the inside, all you need to do is unvelcro, and then you can feel free to inflate it and send it up. Whereas with this one, because it's already set up, or if you've got them stored separately, you have to attach it and then send it up. So what I would do is take off the double ender, unroll the SMB, and then you shoot it the exact same way as this one. Anyways, so that's it for our video today. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them for us to look at. We do have a video on how to properly send up and shoot an SMB from depth, so feel free to watch that. Give us a like, follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you next time.